So my name's Tanya Watchdog. I'm the head of brand and marketing at a credit union. Really, the need for us was we were challenged by growing very quickly and not being really able to tell our story to our employees and our customers in terms of what made us unique and why they should choose us over some of our competitors. I'd say the value that was brought was really providing focus and clarity in terms of our messaging and really helping us stand out from the crowd and providing us with the building blocks really so that we could then develop our key messages and start building our brand story to all of our customers and employees.
Great. You've you've got lots of experience, many amazing brands that you've stewarded. Um, when you have these sorts of problems and you're thinking about, okay, who should I work with, or who do I need, or what do I need? What are some of the things that you like? I need someone, or I need an organization who can do, or is like what are some of the considerations that you think about?
Considerations are experience that really matter, having done something similar, not necessarily with a competitor, but in that space, understanding storytelling. Someone who is relatable, honestly, that matters a lot. Someone who listens and is able to really understand what our needs are and then be able to convey that back in terms of how they can help. I'd say that was probably the biggest factor in making that decision. And then recommendations too. Having been highly recommended by a trusted partner mattered a lot to us so that we felt very confident in our choice and moving forward.
Can you talk a bit about some of the realities of the stakeholder circumstances you found yourself in terms of, bringing them along for the ride?
Not all stakeholders were on the same, I'd say, had bought into the process because they thought the way they'd been telling their story for the last 15, 20 years was the right way and not understanding that not audiences may need to hear the story differently or told differently, and really distilling the messages down. So I think some of the stakeholders might have been skeptical, but I think through the process, we explained to them what was going to happen and that they were heard and listened to. And then the presentation back in terms of here's what we heard, here's how we've taken those points and distilled it down, and here's how we could use, could talk about ourselves going forward.
And can you reflect too on just how the process, I guess, was managed in a way that might have contributed to some of the receptivity or feelings of inclusion, for some of those stakeholders?
I think really having a proper process from the start mattered in a timeline. So understanding what each stage of the journey looked like, who the stakeholders were, which really came back to us and our team, ensuring that the right people were contacted and involved throughout the process. And oh God, I forgot the question.
It was how did some of the work with Michael maybe help, bring stakeholders along, make them feel included, that kind of thing?
I think what really mattered was Michael is exceptional at listening to stakeholders and really allowing them to be heard, and then allowing for some time repeating back what he heard and ensuring that their concerns would be addressed. I don't think that any individual that had been in contact with Michael did not feel confident in his abilities. I really think that there was a sense of confidence and just security that if anyone shared any kind of confidential matters, that they were going to remain that way. And I think that there was just overall, I think it was really positively accepted. So I say all that.
Yeah, that's good. Can you talk about sort of just maybe using some emotional language about sort of where you felt at the beginning, either, pre-process, and then maybe some of the emotional language to describe how you felt after, that you had some things to work with?
I'd say prior to the process kicking off and then really starting the engagement, I'd say I felt anxious and perhaps not very confident that we could actually get this work done, because I'm not the expert in engaging with someone else. You really hope that you've made the right choice and that you're able to deliver the results that you're looking for. But once the process, the engagement was kicked off and the actual plan had been shown and the process explained to myself and the stakeholders, felt very, very confident. And then by the end, I felt great, and I feel like it was a great product, and it was almost like an aha moment when the results and the recommendations had been delivered, because it seems easy. In the end, it's like, wow, why didn't I think of that? But it was a lot of background work to be able to get us there, to provide us with that, I'd say again, point of clarity, where we really needed to go, because the anxiety came from so much messaging and so much confusion. But at the end, it was just really a sense of calm and confidence, having come to that point.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Take me even further, where you as the marketing leader were feeling things that you recognize, like, okay, we're not optimizing here in terms of like going to market and aligning, and like, take me all the way back to like pre, where you were feeling those headwinds, that friction. Can you just talk a little bit about those feelings, like recognizing that, we're not doing our best here?
Yeah, I think that became pretty evident at the very beginning when I looked at what we were hoping to achieve, and then the lack of messaging or key messages or materials. They didn't align with what we said we were doing and what we were hoping to achieve and what we were trying to say to our customers. So there was a complete disconnect. And also, all of our regional offices did not explain or did not have the same messaging to their customers as well. So it was really disconnected. So it was very difficult to go out and campaign or send out any kind of communications, because not every office understood what our message was or what our purpose was, what the brand really stood for.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, that's really good. Now take me to the end of the process. So let's, how did the work enable other work, other things you needed to get on with, if you will?
Yeah, I think it was the beginning of a journey, and I'd say the beginning of our building blocks in terms of what to do next. We struggled doing any kind of communication because we couldn't really identify what our key messages were. This really helped with that and helped with the consistency, so that everyone knew every time we sent out a message, we could go back to that point, to our core purpose. So that was one thing. It helped us with a boilerplate. Again, really defining who we are and what it is that we do. There had been no consistent boilerplate prior to that. And just really in terms of developing any communications cadence calendar internally and externally, it helped us really hone in on what are the 1, 2, 3 things that we can say with confidence that we do and we're supporting, and really help both the salespeople and all of the internal people message brand, it really made our lives a lot easier.
Great. This is excellent. This is exactly what I was looking for. Maybe just talk a little bit about, if you were to recommend to someone else in a similar circumstance, why you might suggest working with me.
The big thing that you bring to the table is your experience, your ability to listen and engage with all of the stakeholders. I think the major difference is that you're not cookie cutter. You're actually looking for a unique value proposition and a unique way to tell each brand story, where there are some, agencies, firms that you might work with, it feels like you're just getting a template, that people are walking you through the same process and saying the same words so that you don't sound unique. And there's really not that much value out of the process. I'd say what you brought was completely unique, and it was different than what else we saw in the marketplace. So it really helped us have a bit of a competitive advantage. It was also the first step in the process of rebranding and building a website and providing all of the creative assets. So it was so pivotal for our business to start with you. And I think that really made us stand out in the crowd.
Awesome. Can you just talk about style? Like, everybody has their own kind of, characteristics, personality, that kind of thing. What, any observations or commentary in that area?
I would say nothing sets you. You're very, very calm, steady, reassuring. That was probably the most important factor throughout the meetings, especially when there were some skeptics in the beginning and really didn't think that there was much value in this process. I have to say, I don't think I've met or worked with someone so reassuring and so able to manage so many different personalities. And I think that really was hugely beneficial to our organization, in that I felt like you had my back, you had the organization's back. It was a great way to work. So I'd say the style is, you're just very calm, organized, considerate, and that really matters when you're dealing with something, I think, that could be challenging in terms of developing or defining the brand and the voice of the brand.
Because we had a unique experience and a unique cast of characters that we were including, I think we should talk about that, because that might be on someone else's mind, so can you just share, without being specific, obviously, just like more the realities that you were dealing with in terms of personality types or belief systems or biases, and how our work together, because it wasn't just me, helped, find our way, despite those prickly points, if you know what I mean.
Really worked was having you lead these sessions, but also in that helping the leadership that had been or had seen the organization grow from a very small organization and scaled up into something larger, but also to recognize that the organization and the firm needed to find its own voice, separate from the people who had started it and led it from the very beginning, so that the organization could continue to be a going concern, but distinct and different from its original founders. So I think that really helped, you taking them through that process and really respecting the history and their knowledge and of what they brought to the table, but also letting them see the evolution of the organization and where it could go and be.
Great. I like that. Well, just because I don't want to miss the point, this is being selfish here. It's like, I'm imagining someone else who's thinking, how do I engage like whoever, is there a way of, without, putting yourself in an uncomfortable spot around like saying, I don't want to put words in your mouth either, but we had some unique personalities to manage as part of this, you know what I mean? And is that, what I'm trying to get at?
Yeah, I know what you're trying to get at. I just don't have
Well,
Well,
articulate
that's
that.
that's why like using terms like unique personality doesn't mean jerk, even though like it just means I liked what you said too, and I'm happy for you to say that too, which is just around, founders have strong beliefs, you know, that might be a way of going at it.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll start with, yeah, founders do have strong beliefs, but they also need to recognize that the organization needs to continue, whether they're still at the helm of it and beyond, so that the God, I can't even think of what I'm trying to say. It's really seeing beyond themselves as the organization. I think that is the real difficult. That was the difficult, I think, challenge for some of the founders, is to remove themselves from the organization and to sort of detach themselves and to respect their role in the process, but to really help grow the organization. That God, I'm struggling with
No,
this.
no. What about the idea of we had some I'm putting words in your mouth and you said they
Yeah.
make them your own, but like we had our organization, this is again riffing, our
Yeah.
organization was at an important turning point.
Yeah.
Whereas we had these founders who had really strong beliefs about, you know, we're successful and perhaps didn't necessarily see that we needed drastic change to go to the next phase, blah, blah, blah. So what
Okay.
we needed to do is help them go through a process which would help illuminate it. I don't know. And or the word I was even thinking of the word delicate. Like we had some delicate. We had to navigate. I know. I'm not helping.
Okay.
Yeah, and okay. Okay.
And basically, by the way, Tanya, anything you've said already is great. It's now I'm like optimizing kind of thing, you know?
Okay. So as the organization was really at a pivotal point and trying to accelerate its growth, we really tried to work with some, oh God, oh, we tried to work with the founders, and I'm struggling. I have it in my head, and when I
Yeah.
can't spit it out. Um,
No worries. I get it.
just real, oh God. But essentially, yeah, well, exactly what you just said. Yeah,
I should have scripted it.
and read it. Um, oh God, but just really positioning the organization for the future.
Yeah.
What was maybe start with what was tough about what did you anticipate would be challenging as you were going into this process?
Found that the most challenging aspect going through this process was was the was the belief of the founders that how they started the organization was still the same way, or the organization was still the same organization, 10, 20 people, large, strong, and that they hadn't grown, and that their business had changed, and that the market had changed, and they needed to be able to tell their story in a different way. And that was probably the largest thing. And I respect that the founders really did start the company. They knew what they helped it grow, but at some point they needed to change the way they were talking about the company. I
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally get it. That's
Agree.
just it's true and that's really all that matters. It's not like we're not we're not writing headlines for, billboards here. We're just trying to get the
No.
story. So that's helpful. Thank you so much. I want to give you like closing thoughts, things that you wish I'd asked you, or things that you kind of want to say over again in a different way. Anything goes. This has been really, really helpful for me. So I'm very grateful.
I'd go back to, you're just really good at being able to understand who we were as an organization, the competitive landscape, players, the stakeholders, the founders. I really try to, and then you respected all of them and all of the input. and we're really careful in terms of managing their feelings to ensure that the end product was a reflection of the work that they had put in and where we needed the organization to go. So I would say that was just the whole clarity, the focus, and the respect of everyone, I think, was really important for us. And I think that's what led to a really positive outcome.
Phew, that was perfect.